What up, everybody? Power Book 2 Ghost Season 3 after getting home from Lorenzo's funeral, thinking she could now put this all behind her after Drew retaliated against the Russians, blaming them for Lorenzo's death. When she walked in the house, though, she had an hallucination of Lorenzo sitting at the table smoking a cigar, which Monet couldn't stand, by the way, and when Lorenzo got out of prison and started smoking in the house, Monet didn't appreciate that at all. But Lorenzo went on to tell Monet that the kids were going to find out what she did. And when they did, they were never going to forgive her. And Season 3 concluded with Monet in intensive care after being shot, something that was initiated by Diana and Drew trying to get revenge on Monet once they found out Monet was responsible for Lorenzo's death. Monet was shot by Tasha St. Patrick after Diana delivered a letter to Kate Egan for Tommy with Tasha's address, wearing a red wig and telling Kate that her name was Monet Tejada. So when Tommy found Tasha and she asked him how he found her, Tommy replied, "Your buddy, Monet Tejada." So either though Diana and Drew had a plan to take out Monet using Tariq as a scapegoat, who was supposed to be taken out by Kane, Tasha interrupted their plan by taking matters into her own hands after Tommy had already warned Tariq not to start a war with the Tejadas by retaliating against Monet. And either though Tariq wasn't the shooter, Diana and Drew still decided to pin this on him, letting Noma know, thinking Kane would take Tariq out as planned and nobody would ever find out that they were behind sending their mother up to die. But Tariq making it out the warehouse alive and starting a war with Noma and the Tejadas leave Drew and Diana now vulnerable that Tariq could expose to Monet that they wanted her dead, not even knowing yet it was Diana who delivered his mother's address to Kate. Also at this time, Monet was holding Tariq responsible for telling her kids that she wanted Lorenzo dead. She still even had suspicion that Tariq was a snitch after the letter Sachs sent, with one of her last messages to Diana asking if Diana ever found out if Tariq was a rat. So Season 3 concluded with a whole lot of confusion between the St. Patricks and the Tejadas. And we know that Season 4 will pick up right where Season 3 left off, with Noma demanding that the Tejadas and the rest of her soldiers take care of Tariq. And after their failed attempt where Drew will get hit by Tariq driving a truck into his car, but somehow Drew will survive because we see him beat up waiting at the ICU with Diana and Kane, plotting their next move as they wait for Monet to get out of surgery. And now we have exclusive pics that they posted on IG of Monet looking at somebody's body. But we can tell this is a dream while she's unconscious after being shot because Monet's standing there with both of her deceased baby daddies, Lorenzo and Dante Spears, aka Mecca. Keeping in mind that the last time Monet had a hallucination, Lorenzo gave her the warning that came to pass as Drew and Diana didn't forgive her and also tried to set her up to die to get revenge. Either though Kane, on the other hand, did forgive Monet and went on to tell Drew that he wasn't going to be an NBA housewife and told Diana she wasn't going to be a sorority chick and drug dealing was the family business. So the fact that both Diana and Drew both wanted out the game, but now in addition to their plan going wrong and Monet and Tariq still being alive, they're both stuck back in the game working for Noma is another factor to keep in mind. But the big question about the picture of Monet with Lorenzo and Mecca is who is she looking at? Is she looking at herself in the position that she's in right now? Or is she looking at something that's foreshadowing what will happen in the future? Could she even be looking at one of her own children? When Mecca reminded Monet what happened to Zeke and letting her know that one of her other children could be next. Or maybe a warning that the next time the shooter will make sure to finish the job and she'll be leaving in a body bag instead. Keeping in mind of Lorenzo's first warning when he said that they would never forgive him. But at the same time, Mecca could also be there to warn Monet about Noma. Keeping in mind that Noma just questioned Monet about Mecca before putting her in charge. So this dream could even make Monet all the more paranoid, not knowing who she could trust or who wants her dead. Because the Entertainment Weekly interview with Mary J. Blige said that Monet is aware of some of her kids' action, but she doesn't know that her kids set her up to be murdered. It also went on to say that Monet will be more humble this season after being shot. So maybe she'll be more sensitive about Diana and Drew wanting out of the life than she was before. But the Entertainment Weekly article goes on to say that things will go completely, terribly wrong. So is this talking about Monet finding out about Drew and Diana really being the ones behind setting her up to die? There's been a lot of talk about Diana getting taken out this season And if she does, I hope it doesn't happen until Monet finds out the truth first. But keep in mind in regards to these hallucinations that they're not the real person talking to the character, but more like the character's inner thoughts, concerns, and suppressed emotions. Keep it in mind how much confusion ghost hallucinations brought him. First, when he was given his speech and saw Raina, likely because he suppressed her death and refused to deal with it emotionally, and instead focused on revenge and building the QCP. Then when he started hallucinating about Angela, it was, why is Tommy still alive? A deep conflict whether he should kill his best friend who killed his lover or not. Then it was in regards to killing Maria Suarez, because Ghost had never killed a female before, and also about not telling Ramona everything about his past because she didn't grow up like him and Angela. And his final hallucination was of Raina, where he justified within himself to force Tariq to turn himself in when Raina said, I had to pay for my decisions, why shouldn't he? So with that said, this vision could also do with Monet knowing that her kids set her up to die, but she suppresses the truth about it because she doesn't want to have to deal with the internal conflict of killing one of her kids. And personally, if Diana is killed this season, I hope Monet finds out the truth and that she's the one who takes her out and not Tariq. But at the same time, Drew is who Monet needs to be worried about because I think she won back over Diana by saving her and everything she was telling her before that. Keep it in mind that everything she was telling Diana might have been the truth, but at the same time, keep in mind Kane had just got done telling Monet that she was going to work her magic to get Drew and Diana back in line. And she had already apologized to Diana earlier in the season to get her to deceive Detective Whitman and told her, is that what you needed to hear? So Monet knew how to get Diana to warm back up to her. Also keeping in mind that she said she didn't choose to sell drugs, that was Lorenzo. But that might have even been a lie. Keep it in mind that she had already been with Dante, who was a D-boy before she ever got with Lorenzo. So she might have even hooked Lorenzo up with Dante's plug when Dante left town. The article also brings up Monet's cousin who will be introduced this season, Janet Stewart. The article lets us know that Janet is a churchgoer who judges the Tejadas for being who they are. But she knows Monet very well. So even though Janet isn't in the life, she does know what the Tejadas do. So Monet won't really have to hide things from Janet like that, either though they're not going to be killing anybody or doing business in front of Janet either. The article also says that Janet will provide another window into Monet's thinking. We should also expect to get a little more of Monet, Lorenzo, and Mecca's backstory now that Janet's in the picture. We could definitely hear conversations about their life from back in the day. I'm thinking that's most likely why this character is added, and also possibly to be killed to push the storyline forward. Getting me to the question, could Janet be the next to go, possibly caught at the wrong place at the wrong time, and caught in the middle of the crossfire? And the article also confirmed that Detective Dawn Carter is indeed a dirty cop who she said will only make things more complicated. Could Dawn Carter have something to do with Monet's dream of Mecca and Lorenzo? Could Carter be Monet's next lover and Monet ends up being taken out by Carter, kind of like reaping what she sowed by taking out Lorenzo and Mecca? And there you have it. Leave your thoughts, theories, and predictions in the comments.